Welcome back, guys, and we're talking to Tonia Rall about expressive dance at the Serenity Festival. So, Tonia, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Deepak. And you?
I am doing so well. I'm feeling a little bit of a chest issue because my kids were sick, but anyway, that happens. Hopefully, I don't catch it. But, Tonia, let's talk about expressive dance at Serenity Festival. What does expressive dance actually mean?
Okay, so yeah, I'm hosting a expressive movement experience, or also known as a ecstatic dance. It can also be considered a form of conscious dance um, at the Serenity Festival. So I'll be facilitating. It's a movement meditation experience. Um, there's many ways to describe what it is. It's a free form. Or a free form creative expressive movement experience. It's a container that's created, so people arrive in the container, um, and I play a curated set of music. So I carefully curate the music that I'll be playing ahead of time, um, in the sense that I choose the music that's appropriate to the particular theme for the day, and then I put the music in a particular order so that it creates a movement journey, a journey. Yeah. So, for instance, the music starts at a very slow tempo, and it builds and builds and builds in terms of tempo and pace and rhythm during the course of the experience, and it gets faster, and then somewhere in the middle the music's quite fast and lively, and you can reach in the dance what's known as an ecstatic state at the peak of that dance, and then I taper it down in terms of tempo and BPM to bring people back down to a state of stillness and rest. Um, so in this particular form that I offer, we move or dance through. So just to go back, I play the music that I've curated live, um, and then I guide people using my voice, using facilitation, using gentle encouragement, using invitations. I invite people to move, to begin their dance, to find their dance. And then along the way, I encourage them and again invite them to deepen their dance, to let go, to find their expression. So it's a facilitated dance in the sense that I speak over the music using a microphone in particular places, just to nudge people along, to encourage people to find their edge in their dance, to continue to remind them to be present, to be mindful, to be conscious, to continue to remind them to, express whatever's coming through. Um, yeah, so that's how it's kind of different from maybe other forms that people might be used to. And it's also in that way different from hearing a DJ just play a set of music, you know. So I create a container that has therapeutic intention, that has healing intention, that is orientated towards wellness and wholeness. It's also orientated towards creativity, expression, embodiment. Um, yeah, so does that give you an idea? So then the people dance, right? Yeah, they experience this immersion. Yeah.
That's so insightful, and I really enjoyed understanding the thought that you put into it because you're actually choosing the songs, you're curating them beforehand, and then also there's a creativity that you're sparking in the people. And the theme of Serenity Festival this year is creativity. We've got all the artworks and effigy burns and creative workshops, but this is actually a creative dance, right? You're actually encouraging people to be creative and create a dance. It's like almost being an artist, but with your movement instead of with a paintbrush.
So that's exactly it. So dance, much like art, visual art, drama, performance art, dance music, those are the fundamental art forms. Um, and if you're a dancer, you're also an artist. If you're an artist, you're also an artist. They're all art, and the dancer expresses themselves through their art. Their form, the form that their art takes, is their dance, is their embodied, movement piece. So I often say to people when I host dances, you are the artist. This is your art. If you're a dancer, if you identify as someone who dances, then you're the artist, the dancer, and your art, your craft is to dance, is to move, is to express energy, is to create shapes and forms and make the music visible and manifest and tangible in space. So, and I often say to people, you are the artist, your body is the canvas. What shape do you want to take? What energy do you want to express? What is your dance communicating? What is the story of your dance? So it's precisely that, yeah. And it's about encouraging people to move in creative ways. And why this is so important is that studies have been done on moving creatively, especially. So not rigid moving patterns like going to the gym, you do the same thing over and over again. Or if you studying choreographed dance forms, then you do the same steps, you learn the steps, you repeat the steps. But if you start to move in ways that you aren't used to moving in, or that you start to move your body in new and different ways, in novel ways, you actually generate new neural pathways in the brain. And there's connections with the telomeres, the stem cells, with longevity. So there's a whole lot of benefits, physiological, neurological, besides the emotional, spiritual benefits of moving and expressing yourself. There's a lot of benefits to dancing in creative ways, in imaginative ways, in spontaneous ways. Yeah. So that's the whole point, to get people to get all weird and silly and crazy and wild and let all the parts of themselves come out to play and dance.
Yeah, so I wanted to elaborate on that because last year you also did the expressive dance session at Serenity Festival, and I was running my stall, my little herbal stall, and I could see people gyrating and moving funny. There was like a little crowd of them just a little away from me. And I spoke to one of the ladies who actually attended your session. She was actually a professional dancer. She's been dancing for tens of years or something. And she told me that in the beginning, she was doing choreographed dance, like the dance steps that she had learned. And she was very systematic in how she was dancing. But around 30 minutes or 40 minutes in, she let loose and started just expressing and dancing freely and sort of not knowing what the next step was going to be, right? And she said she had such a spiritual, I don't know, experience. She felt very emotional afterwards. She even cried after that. So somehow doing that brings up something. Do you understand what's actually happening when she tapped, from that choreographed dance to a free flowing dance? What actually happened? How did she end up crying at the end of a dance session?
So yeah, that's a great question, Deepak. So it's not unusual for dancers on the dance floor in the space to experience catharsis. I myself, so I danced this form for many years. It was a massive and very pivotal, very fundamental part of my healing journey. Me finding the dancer in me and healing through dance. And that's part of the reason why I ended up studying the form and ended up getting, being very committed to bringing conscious dance, ecstatic dance to my community, because it has the potential to be very therapeutic, very cathartic. And I think, there's probably some data around that, but my own personal experience is that, so, there's a premise there's, the theory that the body keeps the score, right? That the body retains information, memory, that the body, depending on to what extent we've suppressed and repressed our trauma, and that's for the most part most people, you know. Um, the trauma, the stress, the unresolved emotions, even like the uh, complexes, you know, um, like what's an example? Like belief systems or conditionings get stuck or trapped in the body because we don't find ways, or we don't have safe spaces to express, to release, to let go of the heavy, you know, this heavy stuck emotions that we might be carrying around, or the trauma. Okay, so they get kind of repressed into the body, into the fascia, into the, you know, deepest parts of us, truly. And I do believe that when we dance, when we move in new ways, and that's again why I like finding different ways of moving, we kind of release what's trapped, you know, these these kind of suppressed, the energy of the suppressed emotions or the trauma. There's a release that can happen, um, in the in and in the release can facilitate a catharsis or a release of emotions. It could be, I've had experiences of experiencing complete bliss and ecstasy and just joy, and I've had very deep processes and very painful experiences of having re-experience trauma or grief as it leaves my body as I'm dancing. So yeah, it's a very real experience to, you know, and at the same time, the music also facilitates that. So you may not necessarily cry when it's like a lacquer house tune playing, you know. You make the music that I choose also facilitates, you know, heart openness. Like it speaks to the soul. So I choose music that speaks to my soul, and it moves me internally. It moves me, and it moves me, and so I know it will have the same effect on the people dancing. And yeah, so there's a combination of factors that can result in a catharsis. It's the freedom that also comes with it. It's the safety that you feel once you've stepped into your dance and you've learned to trust your body and trust your dance. Um, yeah, and there's something about an activation, some kind of spiritual activation that can also happen, you know, in that place, because you in a deep movement meditation, right, for an hour and a half to 2 hours, you're completely out of your head. You're in the space of no mind. You're completely embodied, and in that state of complete presence and surrender and freedom in the flow of the dance, you know, something can happen there. You suddenly, for me, what I find happens is that we create space in our systems. We let go of the heaviness of the stuff that's stuck, of the stuff getting in the way, and suddenly there's more space in our field for yeah, for higher aspects to come through, for spirit to come in, you know, and move us. Yeah.
Wow, there's so much that actually goes on in this dance session, and people should really appreciate like all the different layers. It's not just going and dancing to music, it's actually well thought out. So, about the Serenity Festival, I'm quite curious because you say you curate the music, you curate how you choose which tracks to come and stuff. So, for Serenity Festival, I mean, you don't even know who's coming, really. How are you going to choose and curate music for a crowd that you're not even sure about? How do you go about that? It sounds very intuitive, I guess, maybe through many years of experience. But is there some sort of process?
Yes, I mean, so I start. Yes, there's definitely a process, and it's quite an involved, complex process that goes on behind the scenes, before you actually arrive in the experience. So I would start with a theme. So when I host my dances here at my studio, I generally choose a theme, and the theme, um, the energetics of the theme would inform my choices, or the inspiration that I receive from the theme would inform my choices in terms of looking for music. So I would spend, let's say, my last dance, as an example, was we danced with the element of air. Okay, so air has a particular quality, it has a particular essence, and I've become quite attuned to listening to music and linking it to a particular theme or a particular energy. Um, so then I would choose music, for instance, that had this quality of air, of lightness, of spaciousness, right? And I would curate accordingly. So with Serenity, with the theme being creativity, it's an interesting one, but I would listen to a lot of music, and then I would choose songs that kind of inspire my creativity, or perhaps even cause me to move in creative ways. So I have a feeling that the songs at Serenity will be quite quirky and whimsical and interesting and strange and weird, so that people can find their creative, playful, childlike selves, in the dance. Yeah. And then I would make a short list of all the music that I want to include, and I would start kind of putting them in a sequential order so that the dance flows like a wave, like a spiral. Yeah. And it doesn't matter. I don't have to know who's coming at all. It doesn't really matter. That doesn't play a role. So the theme will inform my choices. Yeah.
Okay, that's really good to know and really good to understand how you link it to the different elements. And now that you mention it, I can also think like maybe this song is more like water, or this song is like fire. It's like more igniting and destructive, and maybe other songs are more airy and whimsical. That's a very nice way to categorize, theme of a music. So this is quite a long session that you're doing at Serenity Festival, right? I think it's 2 hours or 90 minutes or something like that. What about people that have never danced for 5 minutes, in years? What about people like that? How they must be like so scared of going onto a dance floor for 90 minutes. And how do you get them to loosen up and unwind and just become free again and flow with the music?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think it's 90 minutes. My dances at the studio here are usually up to 2 hours. And my dancers here in my community that are regular attendees of the dance or participants, I encourage them generally so we come together, we open the space, the container, because it is a healing container fundamentally. It's not just a come and let's have a lot of fun dance. There's that element. We always have a lot of fun, but we open together, we begin together, and I generally encourage them to stay the course as much as possible, to stay in their dance, to stay with the journey, to stay in their process, to dance to the end, to at least move to the end, because it's often at the end that you reap the rewards or the benefits of your whole experience through all the different layers and all the different elements, right? Much like after a yoga session, you don't just stop halfway through. And then you Shavasana, right? Shavasana is where the most important work happens, because the medicine of the yoga settles in your body and integrates into your system in that restful space, right? So much like we warm up for yoga, we warm up for gym, we don't just go head first into it and pick up the big weights. We warm up, we stretch, we breathe, we mentally prepare ourselves. We kind of plan a little bit what we're going to do in the gym. In the same way, I give a little bit of a structure, and I give a little bit of an introduction to what this is and what this might look like for you as a dancer, what it might entail, how long it will take. So a little bit of what to expect, especially if this person's dancing for the first time. So I tell them the music's going to start slow, but then it's going to get fast, and then it's going to go slow. So pace yourself, breathe. So in the beginning, I bring people in. I do a little bit of a mindfulness practice. I help people ground their energy, come into the present moment, and then we start the dance with getting into the body to begin with, like just gentle stretches, very gentle stretches, bringing some gentle movement into the body, just just welcoming some movement, and that takes 10 to 15 minutes of like there's a warm up phase. Um, and Generally, after the warm up phase, people are more comfortable in their own skin. They've now orientated themselves in the space. They've connected with the people around them. They may have already dropped some of their guard, and inhibitions are lower. There's more energy in the system because there's more breath. There's already some movement, so there's a bit more safety in the body. And Then the music starts to pick up. And you'd be surprised. People who like, I can't dance, I don't do this thing. They're like, as soon as there's a beat and you're already in your body, you're present, you awake, you've activated parts of the body and the breath. So you're out of your head where there's judgment and fear and anxiety and, oh my God, what if people are watching me? And, all the stories. So I do as much as I can in the beginning to bring people out of their heads and into their bodies. In the sense of embodiment practices. And then when there's a bit of a beat, people just start to move. Your body wants to move. We're made to move. It's intuitive. The impulse to move is just an organic, intuitive, instinctual thing to dance to a beat. And then once that beat catches you, you just can't help yourself, And then, when people towards the middle, and I say this to people who are not familiar with dancing or aren't very fit, dance fit, because you can be running fit, but you're not dance fit. It's different. I say to them, regulate yourself, regulate your energy, regulate your pace. You don't have to dance 100% all the time. Take it down. You could dance at 20% volume or 50%. Keep taking deep, nourishing breaths. Remember, we still have an hour to go. So don't use up all your juice right in the beginning. Save some for the middle. And I also say to people, you can sit. You can't. I don't encourage sitting, so I can say you can rest and dance very small, or just stand, or just take a little moment, but come back. Return to your dance. Don't check out as much as possible. But with Serenity, it's a little bit different, right? Because the space is not as contained. People have a choice as well. You can drop in and you can drop out of the dance. If you just want to come and check it out for 5 or 10 minutes, have a little boogie, but you've got somewhere to be, that's also okay, Yeah, so if you can't dance for the 90 minutes, that's also okay. You can sit and watch and enjoy the music. So it's a free space. There aren't really many rules. The only rule I have is to not talk. There's no talking allowed for the most part. I try and encourage that so that we can really, get out of the prefrontal cortex, just into the body, and we can communicate and express ourselves with our bodies in our dance.
Wow, that is so well explained. I think anyone who's even scared of dancing can see that Tonia's designed a very gentle way to reel you in, get you comfortable in your body, and the music is also well chosen, and the space is very safe, and she's created this place where you can just be free. So please come down. Serenity Festival is an amazing place to check out what Tonia can do. It's all included in the ticket price, so there's no extra charge. It's absolutely an amazing way to create, express, and even meditate. I mean, what a fun way to be meditative, right? By dancing in this expressive way, in this kind of situation. So, Tonia, thank you so much for sharing your time and telling us what you're going to be offering at Serenity. We are very excited, and I hope everyone is going to fill up that dance floor when you are doing your stuff.
That's amazing. Thank you, Deepak. I'm so excited. Come dance with me, guys. Looking forward to it.